The concept for e-part trade is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for e-part trade is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
At e-part trade, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you know you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of e-part trade. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
E-part trade really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Good morning from California, and welcome to Race Industry Now, the technical and business webinar series from e-part trade, presented to you by ARP and Performance Plus Global Logistics. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of e-part trade, the global platform for the performance and racing industry. This is episode 221, and we're going to be talking distribution with CAN, Motorstate, and RAR Marketing. With me this morning are Judy Kin, the co-founder of e-part trade, and our wonderful and terrific host, Mr. Jeff Hammond. Judy?
Well, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Francisque and Jeff. We have three powerful industry leaders on today, so I'm really excited to hear how this discussion goes. And I do have to say congratulations to Rich from R&R Marketing, because he's now on the SEMA board. So congratulations, Rich.
Thank you very much.
And I think we see, yeah, everybody's on. So
good.
Mr.
Let's hand it off to you, Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. And yes, thank you very much. And Judy, a whole lot like you, I can't wait to hear what these folks have to say, because again, talking about supply chains, talking about, the business as a whole, and the fact they've got a new name, and the way that I'd like to know how they came up with the name. And I also love the idea of what this webinar is all about. The 3 R's, rebranded, reinvented, and relevant. And I think all of those right there are key elements in any business, especially in the racing business. And again, let's just go ahead and have at it. Right on the get-go. Tracy, how are you doing this morning?
Great, Jeff. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Look, like I say, looking forward to hearing you and your panel enlighten us about CAN.
So we thank you for the opportunity to kind of share with your listeners and about what CAN is doing. We were formerly known as Performance Warehouse Association, started in 1970 by a group of distributors, wholesale distributors, that were very concerned about their sales and the sales channel, and how that worked between, the brands and themselves, and protecting, kind of that sales and that opportunity for everyone. So we've been around, like I said, over 50 years. We're celebrating our 50th year this year, thanks to COVID. We kind of had to delay that the last couple of years, but this year we're doing a big 50th celebration. And yeah.
So Scott, how are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you?
I just wanted to speak to you real quick and make sure that you're doing well. Everybody else seems like they're got a big smile on their face. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
So
we're very excited to be with you.
Well, thank you again. So Tracy, enlighten me a little bit about the name change for one thing. What necessitated that? Because like you said, you had a name that had been around for a long time, and you don't normally take something that's been successful and rebrand it like you have without a reason.
Right. So we were noticing, in the probably around 2000, 2010, in that decade, we had a lot of changes starting to happen to our membership. Our distributors, a lot of them started diversifying. They were becoming more than just wholesale distributors. Originally, one of the key criteria was the members, the wholesale distributors, had to be 100% wholesale. They had to submit jobber lists. I mean, it was a very, very, arduous process. And what we found over the last, those 4 decades after it had started, is that business model really started to change. And a lot of our members had started diversifying into, channels like e-commerce, fulfillment, trying to think of some of the other things, retail stores, store chains, things like that. And so they weren't 100% wholesale anymore. And so that performance warehouse kind of title, we have a lot of distributors that are still wholesale only. And, we definitely want to honor them, but it made it difficult to kind of grow our base and to bring in new buyers that were, definitely moving a lot of volume and making a lot of sales in our industry. So that warehouse terminology became kind of a key critical issue. And then the term performance also kind of was rubbing some of our members, because about half of our membership about 10 years ago was truck related. And that wasn't a term that they necessarily, acknowledged and recognized and even, considered themselves. They were truck guys. And so we just had a real hard time, explaining why people should be a part of a Performance Warehouse Association when, maybe they were an online retailer selling truck parts. How do you bring that kind of a buyer into the group? So, so the board, went through a whole process. We hired a firm. We did a lot of, market research and that kind of thing to really look at how do we position the organization for the next 50 years. And so custom, everybody is customizing. So this was more of a generic term that we could use for, the performance parts, the truck parts, the whatever other industry comes in. So if it's power sports, if it's electric, the customizing is what we're doing with these cars. And, it's obviously automotive. And that was something with Performance Warehouse Association. You didn't know that we were an automotive organization. And so, automotive definitely dials that in. And then we're all about networking. That is the key critical piece to this association and what it's provided for its members for the last 50 years.
So Rich, let me bring you in and ask you, because like I say, you got the the marketing consultant deal. How has this association with CAN, how is it going to benefit, you and your marketing agency?
So it's really about efficiency. As the world has changed and the demands on all levels of businesses have increased, we all have to be way more efficient. We have to bring value to the consumer. And so that means we have to make every minute and every meeting and everything count. And CAN is very good at efficiency. It brings the right people to the table. It gives you an opportunity to have really sound meetings between the distribution chain and the manufacturing chain, marketing people, other support companies that can all help your business. And you can do so many of these meetings in such a short amount of time that everything always ends up producing a lot of good results, from these meetings. So,
Scott, what about you? What do you see as far as your experiences with this association, and what do you see as far as moving forward?
As Rich said, it's a really efficient way for us to connect with the manufacturers, and I love the title of our webinar here, and the relevancy. That last word is very important, and I think it's very relevant to our industry. It was created, as Tracy said, back in 1970 by a group of distributors who really wanted to focus on having some quality time with the manufacturers and being able to work through and forecast and plan out the year. And to this day, that is still what that's about. And even though we've had to reinvent ourselves and we've done a lot of things to make us more relevant and provide better tools for today's technology, it still comes down to that fact that at the conference, we get that one-on-one time with the manufacturer and that group of manufacturers that there's no way possible to do that physically, to travel in 3 days and see, 40 to 80 vendors, depending on the amount of teams you bring, in that short period of time, and that concentration, and then that networking as well. I mean, we all know that our industry is changing and evolving very quickly these days with electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles and hydrogen-powered vehicles, and all that stuff is coming at us, and we still have our traditional, customer bases that we connect with. But as an industry, we have to be aware of this and look at that as the future. And these meetings are just imperative that allow us to do that in that short period of time and be very efficient with it. So,
you bring up a very interesting part of this association. And when I read it, that you got 40 minutes, and that's about what we have here in our little webinar today. Mm-hmm. So why that particular number of 40 minutes? To me, you barely can get in and say, shake hands, say good morning or whatever, good afternoon, and start doing a presentation. I mean, does it create an urgency to come in having your bullet points and, what I'm saying, being on target when you come through the door and not try to go through a big ramp up, then tell something? And, how does that work? I mean, it's got to be, and don't take this the wrong way. This is what came through my mind. Okay. It's almost like a hit and run tactic. We'll get in there, we're going to hit, and then we're going to run right to the next target. You're going to hit there, right. We're going to run right next to the next target. And, what I was perceiving is, if I was going to be a part of this, how would I, be prepared to be able to go in there and meet with this many people over this, period of time, and feel like I'm coming away being successful? Does that make sense?
Sure does. And I can chime in first here, but I've been doing this, I think now for about 32 years of the 50 for the conference. So I feel like, we've got a little experience here, but we affectionately refer to the conference as the speed dating for the performance industry and the truck industry. It is a quick meeting, but as is anything, and you know this, Jeff, with your NASCAR experience, and you got to be prepared, and you get out of it what you put into it. And as an organization, we spend quite a bit of time preparing kind of a scorecard and a bullet point that we talk to the manufacturers about. And you're right. Sometimes we get in there, and by the time we all shake hands and do our pleasantries, and you get guys like Rich and I that like to talk, you can cut that meeting down a little bit. So you got to stay on task and stay focused. But it's amazing the amount of things that we can get accomplished and the bullet points that we can cover in both ways. You know, one of the reinventions of the organization, I feel, which was a huge part of it, was actually putting manufacturers and distributors and the representatives on the same level playing field. I mean, it was always kind of about the distributors for years and years. We'd come in and we'd run the meeting and really not give the manufacturers a whole lot of time to talk about their stuff. But now we realize the partnership, it's so important. So we all take a little bit of that time and get our business done. But it is, you know, you have to be prepared.
Go ahead, crew. Y'all just keep chiming in right there, Tracy or Scott.
Well, I can't tell you how many 40-minute meetings we've had about how long the meetings should be over the years. You know, that's been a point of conjecture forever. And, you know, a couple of quick notes is that you can schedule double meetings. And then the other beauty of this whole conference is that it's all in one facility. It's in a nice resort-like facility. And there's a tremendous opportunity for outside of meeting networking. Lunches, breakfast, dinners, events, things of that nature. So the meeting itself can be the opportunity to put things on the table, but the follow-up that can happen immediately after is invaluable.
I mean, one of the absolute critical things I tell, you know, new people that are coming in and even existing members, you know, when they attend, it's about preparation, just like Scott said. It's about taking advantage of all the networking opportunities like Rich has brought up. You know, a lot of times, you know, just getting that introduction face to face with someone is worth way more to a manufacturer or even a distributor than actually getting a meeting, because you're face to face, you're able to sit down and have breakfast with each other, you know, you kind of connect on a personal level. And in today's time, you know, everything is electronic. It's very hard sometimes to get that cold call picked up or to get an email response. But when you sit there and have breakfast with somebody in a beautiful setting, you know, it just makes it a lot easier to really kind of bring down some of those walls and, you know, relate to one another and say, okay, what is the opportunity here, and have that conversation. And the other thing that really makes a difference with this conference is it's what you do after the conference. You know, when you go into those meetings, you have an agenda, your partners have an agenda, you're both, you know, hitting down these agendas, and you have to take notes because, you know, after your third meeting, you're not going to remember, actually, after your 10th meeting, you're not going to remember the first meeting. And after your, you know, 25th meeting, you're not going to remember that 5th meeting. I mean, there's just, you know, it's just too much information. So you take notes. And, you know, it's about the follow-up. And, you know, I've had many members tell me that, you know, if they come back and they do their follow-up, they get more done with these 3 days and a couple days of follow-up than they do, you know, working the trade show floors for the rest of the year, or even, you know, just trying to send emails and getting that interaction with customers. So, you know, this can be really powerful, but it's really got to come from each company that's attending. I attended as a manufacturer for 15 years prior to this role, and you know, I wasn't very well networked. I didn't know a lot of the players at the distributor level, and so this gave me a great opportunity to set a meeting with them, to introduce myself. And for those that, you know, I didn't get a meeting with, I kind of trolled them a little bit, and it sounds creepy, but maybe as a woman, I'm allowed to do that a little. But, you know, I'd make sure I slip in behind them at the buffet line and follow them to their table and strike up a conversation at breakfast or lunch, you know. It's something that this environment it's a concentrated group of people that are really focused on sales, and that's, you know, it's about growth and it's about your business succeeding, and you're able to do that in this event.
Okay, I got to ask the silly question because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm seeing all of this stuff happening, okay, around this beautiful resort. Do y'all blow an air horn, or what do you do at the end of 40 minutes? I mean, you know, who is the timekeeper here? Who is the one? And again, and I say this with affection, but who's herding the cats? You know what I mean?
You know, we've had lots and lots of conversations about this. I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. The Wizard of Oz moment was when the board realized that the hotel actually paid staff to call every room at the end of every meeting as kind of a reminder. And we realized, I don't know, about 6-7 years ago that we really didn't need to do that. I mean, we're all adults. We all have, you know, cell phones and timers and that kind of thing. Most of the hotel rooms that we've been in over the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, they've all had digital clocks. So, you know, we just ask that our partners respect each other and, you know, somebody be the timekeeper and just kind of move on. But I know that there are some talkers in our group, and they do tend to run over. And I got to tell you, that next meeting guy is outside and he's knocking on the door and he's reminding them like, hey, my time, get out, move on to your next meeting. So yeah, we've talked about cowbells, but you know.
I like Jeff's air horn idea. I think we ought to incorporate that this year.
Well, I mean, I just, you know, you have to have some way to get everybody's attention. And again, if you got such a large group of people and you know, as you say, time is important. And it's pretty evident that, you know, I'm not the first person that's asked about the 40 minutes. And you folks, you know, you discuss it on a regular basis. Is that the right, you know, amount of time? But you all pretty much summed it up saying, yes, you know, if you give people more, yeah, they'll take more. But does it necessarily mean it's going to have the same result? I mean, you hear the saying, you know, less is more. You know, you're just going to be greedy. You have to create more work for everybody else to get in there, get your job done. It's almost like making a pit stop. You know, I know we can make one faster, and we need to do this, but you got to get the job done too. So I mean, I think that's what, to me, you've come up with is this is enough time if managed properly. Now, so that brings me up to another question. Who needs to join CAN? I mean, who maybe is missing an opportunity, maybe listen to us today? We keep hearing what you say, but can y'all break it down a little more specific about what you bring out? And don't, maybe, you know, somebody sitting there thinking, well, it doesn't totally fit my company. How can you find out, you know, what is right and what is wrong for you?
Who's got it?
If you fit into the automotive funnel, if you exist in the supply chain, you're welcome at CAN. For the most part, if you touch aftermarket automotive parts in any way, we have a place for you, whether that be marketing, service providers, distribution, e-tailers, platform sellers, all of the above. We have a place for you, and we don't dictate what you talk about or what you use the meetings for. We just provide the forum and the opportunity for those meetings to take place.
Anybody else like to add?
You know, I would say that, you know, brands that are looking to develop their distribution, those are, you know, you may think you're too small. If you have a distribution program and you want to get your brand out there, we have a great opportunity to come in and meet with distributors and resellers. We have an expo day where mostly our new brands go into that, and it's a kind of a mandatory for all of our resellers. We set up an hour for each reseller team to go through that room. So it's a small little trade show, very concentrated, but those brands have the opportunity to see, you know, to basically meet and showcase their products directly to the resellers. And, you know, if you're a reseller that is, you know, more niche, maybe you just sell Jeep parts, we have a place for you. We have buyers that are wanting to buy into, you know, your markets. And so if you sell marine, if you sell RV, those are things that we're starting to move into. And, you know, we're excited when, you know, we have new brands and new resellers coming into the organization.
So within your network and, you know, organization, association, however you want to put it, we talk about, you know, supply channels and supply chains all the time, and every industry, and everybody since the pandemic hit, we've run into, a mountain of issues. With y'all's service, does that allow the companies that are part of it, do y'all discuss stuff like that to where, other companies share with, competitors even about how they're handling some of these problems? I mean, is what part of the beauty of being a part of CAN, do you have the opportunity to not just stay focused on the mission at hand of getting in there and trying to sell something, but do you ever have time to be able to discuss issues that pertain to everybody within the automotive world?
Absolutely. That is one unique factor, I believe, for our conference, is that in the past, everything was kept close to the chest, and nobody wanted to share information, to let a competitor get a leg up. And now more than any time ever, I feel like this transparency is relevant and very important right now. We all, as companies and businesses within the industry, can share that information and help make this better for everybody. And I believe that we really have done that over the decade, that has opened up, and we find ourselves talking about things that we never would have talked about to a competitor in the past. But, everybody realizes that this is good for the industry, it's good for our customers, to be able to address those problems and get other points of view on it is very important. And that's a lot of what the networking that we're talking about after hours, with the breakfast times, the dinner times, the networking times after the meetings in the evening. That's a lot of where this gets discussed, and it's been a very, very vital part of the conference anymore.
We've had one of our attendees got a question here, and I think it's probably a great time to ask it. Steve would like to know, do you have to be a member to participate? And can you please share maybe some information about cost and the attendance of the meetings?
Okay. Yes, you need to be a member to attend our conference. Membership, depending upon your category, ranges from $175 to $450 a year. If you're a new member and you're listening to this, session, let me know, and we'll work a deal for first year membership. We definitely want to encourage people to come in and definitely experience membership, experience the conference, and then make their decision and hopefully become partners and longtime members for us in years to come. The cost for the actual event itself, we keep the cost really minimal. Really, it kind of just covers food and beverage, and for breakfast and lunch, it's $5.99 an attendee. That also includes your largest, that includes like making all your meetings and that kind of thing. So if you have, say, a manufacturer and you bring 2 attendees, it's $5.99 for each manufacturer. And then our hotel suites are about $199. That includes the resort fee. And they have, double beds if you want to share the hotel room. That hotel room that you're sleeping in, it becomes your meeting room because there's a living room in the front. And so it's very cost effective. You're paying for your hotel room anyways, but that is your meeting room. The other cost, if you go into the expo, there is $1,000 charge for that. And that just helps us with, setting it up and that kind of thing. We're not out to make a lot of money here. We're just, we're out here to exist and to provide these services and these connections. Yeah, so that's about it. If you bring more than like 4 people, say you bring 4 people, that 4th person and on is actually $349 a person. And like I said, it covers 6 meals. It covers your opening reception and the dinner there and the networking. And so it's for a nice resort to have those kinds of number of meals and stuff. It's very cost effective. You're going to spend that at a regular trade show, right? Just with trade show exhibit fees. you're going to spend way more.
And I'm sure if people out there listening, I know that Francis will put it up after we get off of our webinar, but they can go to customautomotivenetwork.com and see your website and everything like that and get a little more information. But John also has a question for you, Tracy. And he says, what is your largest niche and what is the one that is showing the highest velocity? Also, do you have much interest in the aftermarket of EV conversion companies? They are a major company in the EV space, and then they see some interest in EV conversions gaining ground, very rapidly. So he'd like to see what you think about that.
I think Scott, Rich, I think you both agree that truck right now is probably just slightly ahead of performance in our manufacturing markets.
Yes. Yeah. For right now.
Yeah, for right now. I mean, performance is definitely, there. It's solid, but I think truck right now is just experiencing a trend overall that is kind of reflective of right now of our membership. As far as the EV conversion companies, this is something that we've been talking about on the board, that 3 to 5 year, 5 to 10 year, what does this industry look like? And, EV is definitely high on that list. And we know that, as other companies, business models and, their type of parts basically become non-existent in the EV world, like those EV manufacturers, those EV, those companies that are working in that space, they need to have a place as well. And I think that's what our vision is for Custom Automotive Network for the next 50 years is, EV is the next platform. Does it completely replace gas and those types of things? No. Just like the horse didn't replace the train, right? Or the train didn't replace the horses and the airplanes didn't replace the trains. So, it's there's still, markets within that. And that's what we're hoping to I guess, grow in is, what's coming out next. So you're definitely welcome. If you have any questions, you want to give me a call, I'd be happy to discuss it with you and go from there.
And I think our platform is a perfect opportunity for those EV and hydrogen conversion manufacturers to be put in front of distribution and other manufacturers. So we, as Tracy said, we welcome it. We, as a board, we have been talking heavily about that because we see that future trend, not even trend, but that future. And, again, it's not going to replace, but it's going to be part of that and a big part of that. So we welcome them.
Maybe in 40 years it'll replace it.
Yeah, maybe, but I still like who doesn't like the sound of a rumbling V8? I mean, I'm going to stick with that for a while. I'm going to hang on to them as long as I can. So.
Unfortunately,
I'll have to echo that. There's a certain element about when engines are started, no matter whether you're at a drag strip, a local short track, or a NASCAR race. I mean, there's just something about that moment that time just kind of stands still, and your heart, changes a different beat to a certain degree, if you want to say it that way. And all of a sudden, the biggest thing is, I usually get a big smile on my face because I love to hear that sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing better.
Okay, John's got another question here. What activity do you guys see in H2? I'm pretty involved in the H2 space as well as, I think it will be saves ices and hot rodding going forward. Some of this terminology is a little bit out of my understanding, so maybe y'all understand that better.
Well, I think people have been working to develop alternate fuels for a long time. And, hydrogen has certainly been at the top of the list. I think many of the OEs have done a lot of work with hydrogen. I know Mike Copeland displayed at the SEMA show with a supercharged hydrogen fueled vehicle. And, I think the key thing is that with our organization, we don't dictate what you sell or how you sell. We just put the opportunities in place for people that make stuff to get it to people that need stuff. And I think that the broad diversity you see within our organization today stems from the necessity of our members to do more things and be efficient, be good at logistics. Scott, I think you can probably comment to this. Motor State at one point in time was a performance only house. Now you probably can't count the number of categories you have in that massive building up there in Michigan, but we all do many different things now, and it's all about changing with the needs of our customers and the needs of the industry, and making sure that we put the right people in the right forum to connect and get what they need done, find the opportunities, and go execute on those opportunities.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think one of the key factors here, and especially when we're talking about, when we start sticking our toe in the water with EV and H2 and all these alternative fuel sources that, and I'm going to use fuel injection as one of those, turbocharging and fuel injections. Those used to be in the performance industry. They were kind of black arts, and they were people that helped develop that. You had to go to that source, and the industry seen that and embraced it. And much like nitrous oxide, they made it readily available and safe and easy to install. And then it becomes a platform that everybody goes to. I mean, there's still a lot of carbureted vehicles out there, and I don't think, again, they're ever going to go away, completely. But you look at fuel injection, what used to really scare a lot of people off, that were doing the installs and tuning and all that. Now it's a very easy process, and the industry made it an easy process, and our manufacturers took those platforms and develop them to make them very easy. And that all comes from these conversations and meetings. And I can remember when we were first talking about fuel injection, and, it was always there, but it was very difficult on an aftermarket side. Now it's very easy. So those are things, I see that with EV and H2 as well. We'll embrace it. I mean, our whole industry is driven by passionate people that wanted to build a better product, make a car safer, better. I'm going to say faster, because that's what we all like to, we all want to make things faster and increase the performance. But at the end of it, it's about making it more readily available and easier to understand for the end user, that we can sell that product easier, and then they can do those installs and updates on their own. So.
Well, and the great part about our conference is that you can meet with the manufacturers and ask them yourself, what they're doing to embrace new technology. And what you'll find is, as manufacturers go, not many of them just want to stay in one space and never evolve. All of them are looking at ways to remain relevant into the future. And coming to a conference like this, you can get some really personal one-on-one time with these manufacturers to talk about what their direction is and how that might fit into your business. And in return, you can oftentimes provide a lot of feedback to these manufacturers about what you see and what you need that can help them with their development into these new technologies.
One thing I want to throw in there real quick, I know we're kind of limited on time, but it's kind of reverting back. Our industry has seen a lot of acquisitions and mergers over the past decade. And in us as an organization, we know that, and we have actually developed the programs for the organization. As Rich said earlier, and Jeff, you had mentioned it, 40 minutes, but when we're dealing with manufacturers that may have several brands now under their umbrella, we need more time. So we can add meeting slots to those meetings when we know we're going to be talking to a manufacturer about multiple brands. And that's the beauty of this. It's pardon the cliche, but it's customizable, right? The custom automotive network is customizable for your needs. And those are things that we've done to reinvent ourselves and make that relevancy to the industry better as an organization.
A couple of other quick notes about the conferences. We'll have opportunities for presentations and seminars. We work closely with SEMA and SEMA PAC. They'll be in attendance at our conference. There'll also be a golf tournament taking place on that Friday night, which if you see a bunch of car people playing golf, probably won't be great scores, and the carts may not be in perfect shape when they come back, but it's guaranteed to be a good time.
That's why we play it at night and not during the day.
You know, y'all kind of lead me into, we also have a question here along the same lines of what I wanted to ask. Mike was wondering, you know, the distribution has changed a lot in recent years, including drop shipping, e-commerce, et cetera, you know, and how you guys adapt. You know, when you think about, you know, that the company has made a change in its name, calling itself Can now. Like, I want to say Con, like it's not for them to be a can, because y'all can get it done. That's because we can. And
right.
But you've been hosting for over 4 decades. And is it the members? Is it the board of directors? Who is it that keeps making it work? And you know, the changes that you've made throughout the years to be able to make this conference, you know, still viable, making it relevant, as we've all pointed out. And what other events and services is the association actively working on in 2022? If you got people out there thinking, okay, one conference is great, but what else goes on? I mean, you know, for a full year, you know, y'all just go back and hibernate. You know, you can't be doing that if you've been successful, but I'm just saying, do you have other stuff you have going on?
Let me answer a couple of those questions. You know, when the association started, it was a board of directors just made up of distributors. When we made our name change, we now have a board of directors from every category of membership. So we have, you know, a number of manufacturers, a number of distributors, a number of service providers, and we call them our partners, service partners. And the board has been instrumental in kind of making a lot of these changes that, you know, we're talking about, you know, recognizing that, you know, we need to evolve, we need to, you know, kind of reinvent, not reinvent, but we need to definitely infuse the whole organization with this, you know, we need to meet the challenges of today. And, you know, the conference is great, but we also recognize that, you know, that end consumer and how they're getting their parts, how they're consuming information, that affects everybody else back up through the chain. And so we're having conversations right now. We have a data and content committee that's more on the, you know, the electronic side of things. You know, how do we streamline what is the best practices for our manufacturers to share their information all the way down through the stream. And so this committee has gotten going this year. We've got a conference for them that is going to be similar format, meeting, you know, the data and the content people, the people that are in the electronic space, looking for the 360 videos and the installation instructions and, you know, the aces and pies. And I hate to say that because I don't want people to shut off now, but all that relevant content that a consumer is looking for, how do we get it in front of their eyeballs? And who are the people within all of our member companies that are dealing with that kind of information? We're bringing them together in a similar format event, and we're calling it CAN Content. And they're going to be able to meet with one another and work through their problems, work through, you know, a lot of their challenges. And so we'll have some informational and networking and educational sessions for them as well. So it's we've got other benefits. We've got discount programs. We have a dealer locator for brands that want to help their consumers find their parts in a local retailer. And so that's an industry-wide initiative, and it's something that we host. So manufacturers don't have to build their own dealer list. They can use our API and, you know, push the consumers back out to the retailers, which helps our, you know, distributors. So it's just a couple of things that we've got going on.
We also have some really awesome service provider members that can provide a great deal of value. And the nice thing is they know our industry. They've done business with like companies in the industry, and you can find that they're very relevant, and they're very capable of providing a great deal of value. It's part of the unity that brings the whole organization together.
We're kind of like the one-stop shop for what does your business need to succeed, let us connect you to the right people and the behind the scenes business stuff that needs to happen. Who are you using for a credit card processor? Who are you distributing your data through? Can we help you connect those dots? Can we help identify common struggles like some of the legislative threats and things like that? So,
what did they used to call that thing, Scott? A Rolodex? Is that correct? A Rolodex? We're like a big Rolodex. We can get you a warm introduction to the right people.
Yes. Correct. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
I'll tell you right now, we are going back in time if we're thinking about that big Rolodex. And most people had a little box on their desk, and the other ones had that big wheel that when you started turning it, it looked like a big Ferris wheel.
You have to add to it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's the companies and everything right now are just they're being bought, they're being sold, or this, that, and the other. Mike had one little quick, I guess I want to add on to it real quick. The panelists thought about, Holly, for example, on all these, private equity firms that are buying these iconic brands, almost weekly. How does that affect the industry? You want to comment on that real quick, guys?
Yeah, it's definitely affected the industry. It's affected us as a distributor. It's affected us as an organization. And again, we look at those in a case like Holly when they have, so many brands, and all those used to be individual meetings, and now they're kind of formed into one, and that's when we have to take those longer meeting slots to kind of cover those. But as an industry, it's a little bit of a loaded question, because I'm going to say, just like in anything, there's good and bad. You look at some of these brands, iconic brands that were on the verge of going away. I mean, we would lose them. And fortunately, some of these investment groups have been able to come in and purchase them and put the needed money and cash flow into that organization to continue them. And, they bundled some of these up. So sometimes you lose a little bit of that personal touch that you had with individuals at the companies. But just like anything, there's good and bad. Some people do it very well, and others kind of struggle with that. But, we talk about this a lot. And personally, I would rather see those brands get purchased and remain, and let's at least try to keep them here, than to flat and just go away, which is what some of them would have done.
Well, everybody, it's really been a pleasure having you folks come on and explain to us what the Rebranded can do. I mean, it sounds to me like it's this continuation of what was started 40 years ago. It's just got a little bit more fluff and buff to it. And I think the main thing everybody understand, the passion, the desire to make sure the automotive industry can communicate is still there. And that's the one thing I'm taking away from right now. Because it's not like, you don't sell a hard product. You folks don't have that in your hands when you walk in the door, but you walk in, representing the products that are out there, and you help get everybody basically in the flow. Am I understanding what this is really turning into? Because again, I didn't have a preconceived notion about how this could work, but it sounds like a great organization. And if you're going to be in the automotive industry, you need to be a part of it, because it's going to keep I guess you might say, the wheels greased and things flowing along like it needs to do, and gets everybody basically on that same page. So really appreciate your time and coming out here and sharing what you know about it. And for those of you, maybe you didn't get all your questions answered, contact Tracy, and she'll make darn sure she gets you to the right people. Judy?
Well, I've been to this event, as Tracy has said, great networking. It was really worth my time and effort to go there. So I fully agree with you. And if anybody wants to reach out to Tracy, she does have a profile on our platform, and you could log on and send her questions. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, we had a great audience today with some good questions.
So thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Rich. I mean, the distribution is the backbone of our industry. So that was a very important webinar, and we wanted to make sure your message was out there. So this webinar has been recorded, like the 220 previous one. It will be posted on the ePartrade platform later today. It will be distributed through our YouTube channel, social, newsletter, etc. So thank you very much for being with us today. We will be back next Wednesday. We're going to be talking racing fuels with PS Racing Fuels. Thank you very much, and let's go racing. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. Fill out your name, email, phone number, and create a secure password. Next, select your business type. Choose supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose racing business if you're looking to find new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose race team if you own or are a member of a professional racing team. Begin typing your company name. We most likely already have your company in our database, which you can select from the drop-down. Then, enter your job title. Choose Claim Company if you'll be editing your company profile. Other members of your company can choose Join Company if they'd like to use ePartrade as well. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Click Register Now, and your registration will be submitted for approval. You'll need to confirm your email once it goes through. To keep our platform industry only, you'll be approved shortly after. If we require additional proof of business, we'll reach out. Welcome to ePartrade.